And welcome back to another fantastic episode. In today's upload, I make one of FNAF 3's most famous minigames. Yes, we are making one of the famous and iconic minigames from FNAF 3. Now, for me, FNAF 3 has been one of those iconic games that have always been part of my childhood. It tied together the original trilogy so well, in my opinion, and it really built on those minigames shown in FNAF 2. Now, I know a lot of people have different opinions on what their favourite minigames are. Some people might like Chica's Birthday, or some people might like Balloon Boy's Air Adventure, or even Mangle's Quest. But for me, I'm going to choose something that is very special in terms of my experience with the Five Nights at Freddy's series and FNAF 3 in general, and that is of course Stage 1, and I'll explain to you why. Stage 1, at least for me, really stood out because of the aesthetic changes. You weren't getting the usual characters, you were getting quite a mysterious character that was being revealed more upon this minigame, and really kind of giving a bit more into the story of Golden Freddy, and I absolutely was fascinated by this when FNAF 3 first came out. So there we go. Now, of course, the things we actually need for this build, because obviously we're not going to do a 2D version because that's just boring. What we actually need for this build are the following. We need a stage. We need the characters, we need a room, and of course we need a general design aesthetic in mind. Okay, so my first step of this general guide is, for one, I actually need to get a stage design, because that is really important for this build. They need something to stand on while they're entertaining the patrons, and so the stage design will always be first in my mind when it comes to these kind of builds. Now, the first thing I've actually done is I've done sort of a trinity of designs in order to kind of build on. I've done this bland semicircle design with some bricks, some white stained glass, and of course some light grey terracotta. I've done more of a FNAF 6 style of stage over here with these lovely red wall curtains, and I've somewhat done a bit of a fusion dance, so to speak, with these two into this stage over here. I especially like the purple slabs and colour aesthetic with that. I think that's going to be somewhat part of our build, the kind of yellow and purple of the Springlock animatronics like Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, which although wasn't in stage 1 as a colour choice, it is certainly a theme that has been built on. So for step 1, well, the first step was actually making this wall design, which will really be in the finishing product of our sort of a minigame-esque 3D adaptation, so to speak. I just put in some lovely oak and birch planks with some, what is this? Is this purple? Yes, this is purple terracotta and cyan terracotta for the kind of rim that separates the foundation of the wallpaper to the general mid-rim of the wallpaper, which will be grey concrete. So for the general stage design, I've planned out the kind of shape over here with some lovely red concrete. It is exactly a semicircle design. Now I have actually used Plots for this. It is a great website. It's called plots with a z.co.uk or .com. They do great designs. They use calculations to make perfect Minecraft circles. I've always used them, and I recommend, if you are making these kind of builds, that you use them as well. So all we need to do now is kind of build on this design and slowly build up our stage. So now what you see is the kind of plan taking shape from the foundational sketches, well, so to speak. So what I've done here is, using some clay blocks and light grey concrete, I've managed to build a perimeter on the plans we've set out, kind of filling in the empty space with some cobblestone, because, you know, I always like going back with the classics. And of course for this kind of back bit, which will kind of cover the stage curtains, so to speak, I've used stone brick just to kind of separate the two. Now for this part of the foundation, I've actually used grey concrete just to separate the different shapes of the semicircle and the rectangle. So all we need to do now is kind of decorate this a bit more as a rough sketch of what the kind of bottom shape of this stage will look like. Now for step 3, this is more of a decorational part of the guide, where we're kind of building on what we've made here and just adding some little notches, little details, just to build up the overall project which we've got going over here. So moving on top of the foundation which we built over there, I've put down a light grey terracotta kind of floor. I was debating on whether to make this stripped wood, however I kind of wanted there to be somewhat of a smooth stage floor just so it doesn't really interrupt the textures of the costumes and the characters, which I have designed at this point, so you'll be able to see that at the end. But one thing I've also done is put in the border for the stage. Well, the rear of the stage really is going to be a semicircle, I believe, that'll kind of arch over the characters and kind of hold the curtains in place while they're performing. It's a bit difficult to describe what I haven't built yet, but you'll kind of see as we go along. Now, after finishing the stage floor, this is where you'll start to see a lot more of the details come into place. So what I've done is I've actually used some packed mud just to detail the outside perimeter of this actual build, because I am aware that nothing is really perfectly clean. Sometimes you'll get some dirt around the edges, and I just wanted to kind of exemplify that with the use of packed mud, since it's the closest kind of textural and color component next to light grey terracotta. Now, one thing I really wanted to show you are these amazing lights. Now, obviously, they're not lights, they don't turn on, not yet anyway. But what I've used here is some magenta stained glass and some white concrete behind it, just to imitate these kind of really nice colourful lights that will kind of pepper the stage up, around and about, essentially. So we will have a lot more of these, and these will light up, I can assure you, but you're gonna have to wait until a little bit later, I'm afraid. So I think, without further ado, I think we can start building up the stage now. So, construction begins at last. One thing you have noticed, for those who have a bit of a keen eye on some of my tutorials, is that this stage is perfectly suited for two statue designs of mine. So what I've done is I've made two custom Fredbear and Spring Bonnie costumes, or statues so to speak, kind of spaced them out on how this would look, arranged the semicircle to fit their size, and you'll see I'm doing the same thing over here. I'm kind of heightening where the curve should be at the top of the stage and where the kind of roof of it should go. So over here I put in some pillars, so to speak, just to kind of gauge the height of these characters and to make sure nothing just stands a little too out of place, if that makes sense. And of course over here we're kind of shaping out the curve. Now of course for this I did use plots again, just to get it really perfect. I didn't want to screw up this sphere or circle, semicircle, what have you. So we're kind of building up the kind of stage as of now. Now of course we haven't put in a lot of the lights, a lot of the decorations, so this is a lot more construction wise. Of course we go over here, this is where we start to put in the dark grey concrete. Now look at the kind of lighting difference between the grey concrete and the light grey concrete. Now this will kind of work into play a little bit later, but it kind of imitates that there's something behind it, but you can't really see what. It's kind of shrouded in darkness. Now that's the kind of effect I wanted, just so we can give a bit of suspended belief in the build itself. Now you'll see what I mean on this next step. Now this is where the fun starts. Oh, do forgive me folks. So I've started to put in some of the lighting of the stage itself. It's the same premise essentially as the stage lights at the bottom. I've simply replaced the colour with some lovely light blue stained glass and some white stained glass, and that kind of imitates a sort of reflection in the lights itself. It's supposed to kind of mimic neon. The shape itself, I believe, is kind of inspired off these kind of 50s, 60s jukeboxes, because although we don't get an idea of when Fredbear's Family Diner really kind of originated, the most popular guess is somewhere between the late 60s and the early 70s, and to kind of tap into that aesthetic information of that era is really important, at least I think, as well. So if we fly down over here without revealing too much, you may have seen a bit of what is to come. So what we have done over here is put in some lovely curtains, and now you'll see what I mean now with the suspended disbelief. You can see that there's something behind that. Maybe it's parts and services, maybe it's just some employee making sure the animatronics don't wig out, so to speak. But I really like the design here, the kind of drapes pulling it to the side with this kind of pin on the wall. So I think that works really well. But of course you are waiting for the characters, I know you are. You want to see Wasabi, I want to see Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, and so you shall. So, well, let's meet them. Now, will you have a look at this, folks? I am absolutely chuffed about how these came out. Really enjoyed making them. I don't really get time to do these kind of custom builds if they're not in a tutorial, so it was really a breath of fresh air just to have these kind of to build and to enjoy more as a aesthetic choice to a environment rather than a design in and of themselves. I really like the features on, of course, Fredbear with his custom teeth, because of course he is based off of the kind of withered Freddy model. If you have seen FNAF 2, they're very similar, so I kind of went off that design. As for Springtrap, now Springtrap has a very unique design. I had a lot of time enjoying building him, let me tell you. We have these kind of spring lock features, like these little pins at the side of the jaw, as well as this neck feature, which you don't really see on the other animatronics. It kind of sticks out a lot, so I decided to put that in there. So yeah, this worked really well in my opinion, and the piece de resistance of this kind of collection of builds is if I turn the time to midnight. Oh, it's getting a bit spooky now, isn't it? Yeah, so I've added some light blocks to the, of course, the lights. If you'll see over here, it just peppers the entire course of the stage. And of course, I kind of put in some light blocks into their eyes just so they don't get kind of blotted out by the darkness, so to speak. So, I think without further ado, I have made a lovely little cinematic video for you folks that I would wish you you looked at. It is just a summary of the build that we've done today. So, without further ado, let me present to you Stage 1. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the show is just about to start, so strap yourselves in and enjoy the show.
Sun, shine on me today. Sun, dry my tears away. How I need your warm embrace to shine upon my crying face. Oh, sun, shine on me today. Sun, give me a little light. Take me out of this darkened night. You know what a little light can do. You change the sky from black to blue. Sun, shine on me today. Sunshine, come on sunshine. Let me have one of your rays. Just one, only one, to get me started on my way. Sun, shine on me today. Sun, dry my tears away. You know what a little light can do. You change that sky from black to blue. Oh, sun, shine on me today. Oh, sun, shine on me today. Come on, sun, shine on me today.
Oh, I do hope you enjoyed that amazing cinematic video that I made for you folks. I certainly did. I really don't have time to do a lot of these projects, so it's such a treat to make these sort of things. I think we've really hammered home the kind of stage 1 of the, well, Minecraft really. So I didn't want to make too many details on the floor, because I did want this to vaguely mirror the minigame in and of itself. But obviously, it's an 8-bit minigame, you can't get much detail out of it, so sometimes you have to take some creative liberties, but I think in the end it really paid off. I especially love the kind of children sprites. If we fly down here, they look so soulless. Oh, I love it. So yeah, that has been our video, me building FNAF 3's most famous minigame in Minecraft. Or, well, to be honest, the most iconic. You may have a lot of favourite minigames, of course, like I said in the beginning. It may be Chica's birthday, it may be BB's air adventure, but whatever it is, I want to say thank you for watching this video. It just melts my heart having people like you come over to watch my stuff, so thank you. My name has been Dr. Wasabi. I wish you a most pleasant good evening, and of course, as always, God bless.
And now, folks, it is time to say good night. We sincerely appreciate your viewing and hope we've succeeded in providing you with an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Stay happy and come back again soon. Good night.